So today's story is a bit weird. It's all over the wire. And just to follow up on the Kony 2012 PSYOP that I reported on just recently, about a week ago, it was the viral hit of the internet. It was the greatest thing. It was the biggest thing since Noodles. And this guy Jason Russell, he was an instant superstar with his Kony 2012 thing. Which was about, just funneling a lot of money into his organization called Invisible Children, and using that to, or 30% of it, to raise attention to war crimes in Africa, particularly this guy Kony, who's supposedly the uber bad guy of Uganda, even if he's not really in Uganda. And it was all a big deal because he was rallying all the kids and all the teens and all the hipsters to sort of go to Congress, to march and say, we want legislation, we want military action against this guy Kony. He's going to be the big deal in 2012. He's basically the new Hitler. He's the new Osama bin Laden, and it was all a boogeyman. Everybody knew that. Everybody who's in the know knew that this is a PSYOP. This is something that is meant to expand the AFRICOM, and the backlash was instant. And now the backlash has sort of caught up to Jason Russell, and he was caught in public. Hold on. Masturbating while he was naked. He was undressing in public and running around screaming and masturbating. It's really weird. I have a report here that says that he was acting very strange. Jason Russell, 33, was allegedly found masturbating in public, vandalizing cars. He was vandalizing cars too while masturbating and vandalizing cars. It's very strange behavior, and possibly under the influence of something, according to Lieutenant Andrew Brown. He was detained at the intersection of Ingraham Street and Riviera Road. It's according to NBC San Diego. So he's out in the middle of the street, butt naked with his John out, whacking off basically while he's screaming and vandalizing cars. So very strange. That is the art of understatement. And I suppose in order to live in this reality today, we have to all be very apt at understatement. So due to the nature of the detention, he was not arrested. I mean, he basically gave himself up. He didn't fight anything, and the police describes it. He was in his underwear, but he took his underwear off at some point. And I suppose that was to do the whole masturbation thing. And it's a big laugh all over the internet. Everybody's just giggling and chuckling, and all the haters are out too. And I'm not going to do that. I mean, it's a funny story, but I'm not going to do that. Because there's a lot of puns, there's a lot of jokes you can throw around. And what I want to focus on is that there are two possible avenues to this. And it has already been suggested that it's because he's so religious. He's a Christian evangelical. He identifies very strongly with Jesus and the gospel. And he feels this urge, to befriend the whole world, to make them Christian. And he's got some very clever ideas on how, to sort of hide your Christianity and then make people Christians by sort of, sneaking in your beliefs, into your friendship. So that is his MO, he's kind of a sneaky guy, and you could tell from the video also that this guy, or at least his campaign workers, are very brainy. They have some ideas about collective psychology and about social engineering, about information theory. There's probably a lot of professionals in that group, and now it's all blown up in his face, pardon the pun. And what is happening here is maybe just a reaction to the whole fundamentalist thing. That some part of him wants to be out of it. He doesn't want to do it. And he's disappointed perhaps because of the backlash that he's experienced. He didn't expect it, or he didn't expect it so soon, and it's kind of a mixed bag for him. It's a bittersweet victory because USA has already used the opportunity. They already exploited this and sent in more than 100 advisors. So they're expanding the AFRICOM on this platform. So in a sense, it is karma, as some reporters they chose to report it, that it was coming back to him now because he was, sort of a white imperialist. He was a Western imperialist. He was just a tool. My perspective on it is that maybe it's. I think it's all a psyop from the beginning, and I think that he was suggested into it. Maybe funded, maybe not funded, but just aided, helped along with contacts. Hey, we know some celebrities who might help you. Just conveniently, we know George Clooney and whoever the celebrities were who supported this stuff, and they can open doors. They can make it easier. They can sort of grease the process for a guy that they want to promote. They want his cause to be lifted out of 100 million causes, because this is convenient for AFRICOM right now. This is what the CIA, Pentagon, Illuminati, Apex wants to happen in the world, and this guy, he can be used. But there's also the other possibility that this guy is himself an agent, that he's either in the know or he's an unwitting agent. And by unwitting agent, it is possible that he's been groomed, that people have sort of held his hand in church and taught him how to do stuff, how to think, what to do. You can do that with suggestion. You never have to come out and say, hey, listen, I'm a CIA agent, and I got a very special mission for you. You can just sort of push people along, draw them into different circles, draw them into situations where their natural talents and their natural idealism and inclinations can be useful for a larger process. And in most cases, a process that the young white idealist, he doesn't know about the world. He's taken to Africa, he's taken to Uganda, he's overwhelmed. So he's thinking, this is horrible. These children, they're completely messed up, and human rights situation in Central Africa is just beyond comprehension. And, he takes that in on an emotional level. Intellectually, he's not schooled in political science or anything, so he doesn't really know what to make of it. He doesn't understand that these handlers are grooming him. They're making him into what they want. And in that process, sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, I'm not saying that this is a set system and you can just predict this guy is a psyop and this guy is an unwitting agent and stuff like that. But in some cases, they do install Omega programming. They do that in a lot of celebrities. They have a clear grasp of the traumas that you come into the world with, the things that happen to you in your childhood. A lot of movies, they play on the death of parents. They play on traumatizing events that happen to children. A lot of recent movies, they play on sexual abuse in the childhood. They want, and that is a strong identification point in large parts of the populations who have been traumatized in this way. So they get zoomed in. It's called transportation. In the art of narratives, it's called transportation. And then they're transported into the narrative. And people who have felt the same horrors that the people in a movie, for instance, are confronted with, they'll identify on a stronger level than the rest of the audience. So what you can call a package, like a piece of wetware, software, something that installs itself in the brain, and you think it's your own idea, will be promoted through that narrative. And I think that happened in a lot of cases in Kony 2012. That it attached itself to ideas that were already current, that might even have been published. Like the whole thing with the quote that there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. I think I saw that for months before Kony, and that was something. To a lot of these internet memes, a lot of the social engineering that goes on Facebook and on Twitter, there's something slightly disturbing about them. They seem to be very deliberate, very systematic, and I already had an eye on that, an idea whose time has come, and that was a part of the Kony package. That installed itself in all these people and made them completely hysterical, they went into a frenzy, almost like in the days of Obama, when people would they would keel over. I mean, women would keel over and faint. You know, like in the old days when the warlord rode through town in his chariot, surrounded by soldiers. You know, with a crown on his head or whatever they put on his head, you know, and the women would fawn, and it's the same thing you see with superstars today. The women fawn, and they literally drop to the ground, which is sort of this behavioralist thing, you know. It's a primordial thing in human nature. The women, you know, they drop to the ground because, you know, they sort of make themselves available to the conqueror. He's a man now, you know, and once you're the man, once you're like Brad Pitt, for instance, then, you know, women just throw themselves at you. It happened to Tiger Woods, you know. Women just lay down, you know, hey, take me, because, hey, you're the tiger. And so a lot of people went into that frenzy mode. And I think Jason Russell, you know, he was struck by stardom. That's another article, let me just find it here, where it says that quotes his website that says that Jason Russell is attributed by his organization as our grand storyteller and dreamer. Our grand storyteller and dreamer. So this is basically shamanism. The storyteller, he's seducing everyone to sort of gather around him and join him in the battle of the story that he tells. And he tells the story the way he wants to tell it. It doesn't matter that Kony is small potato. It doesn't matter that Africa and Uganda even has bigger war criminals than Kony. And that Kony, he left Uganda 6 years ago, so he's not even a part of the Uganda problem. Politically speaking, at least. There's still victims of Kony in Uganda. But the website also says a filmmaker by trade, Jason graduated from the University of Southern California's film school with a degree in cinema production. He admires Oprah, Bono, Steven Spielberg, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, Baz Luhrmann, and Dan Eldon, and believes wholeheartedly in magic and the impossible. He believes wholeheartedly in magic and the impossible. And that's why I see the first conflict is that I know that the Christian churches are completely immersed in Kabbalah and Luciferian doctrine. You can see that the prosperity gospel is basically worship of Baal. It's worship of Mammon, money worship. If you believe strong enough, you know, if you're really pure in your heart, then you'll become rich. The gospel will make you rich. You know, God wants you to be rich, so you're a testimony to the world that if you believe in Jesus, then you become rich. It's completely contrary to what the Bible says, but never mind that. They don't care about that. They found a good trick to make money. And there's this whole Zionism thing, which is basically worship of the Seal of Solomon. The Seal of Solomon is not a talisman you can wear around your neck. It's the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. That's why Jerusalem is the epicenter of all geopolitical conflict today. It's because you have these groups of people who are rally hunters. They believe that there are billions of money they make on the stock market and whatever is you know, gained by magic, by astrology and by high level magic like invoking spirits and demons and such, and by owning magic items with magic properties. It's an old idea, ancient idea. It goes all the way back to the old Europe, to the kings and the aristocrats who were obsessed with all sorts of magic items, also from Egypt. Trade from Egypt, all sorts of relics was a huge big deal and still is. So by owning things, you can sort of gather up a lot of magical power. And owning Jerusalem, that is the cruise of the problem today, is that a lot of people, they want to own Jerusalem, and particularly want to own the Temple Square, because that's where the remnants of Solomon's temple is, and that's this octagonal shaped compound underground. They found that with new technology. They found this shape, octagonal shape, that is supposedly in some way the framework of the Seal of Solomon. So we're in a situation where you have a lot of people who believe in magic, and we know that they do that in Hollywood. They believe that a movie production is magical, and a lot of the script writers, they get their inspiration through what they think is magical processes.